Hi, this is Marlene.gibb with What Do You Do? And today's guest is Eric Jaffe. And Eric, what do you do?
Hi Marlene, thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome.
I actually work in the operations department of a startup in Venice called ChowNow. It's a company that I started with a friend of mine a few years ago. And we build technology for restaurants so that they can get online orders from their customers.
So it's basically the restaurant. Let me get this straight because I want to get this real clear. Your menus, your ChowNow, you have the, let me back up. The restaurant has the menu, right? And people order from that menu, and then you do the back end work after that.
So
Is that clear?
think of it this way.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. So a restaurant has developed a menu. It's usually because there's an artist behind the menu, a chef behind the menu,
Right.
and they have a certain kind of passion for barbecue, or they have a passion for pizza, or they have a passion for baking, whatever it is. And so they have then built a business around this passion, and they build a menu that then services a customer base that they really want to target. What we do is we help them we give them the tools that allows them to take orders from their customer base via an online channel. So as opposed to standing in line and waiting to put your order in at a cashier, or picking up a telephone and calling, being put on hold, ring, 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 we've gotten rid of those interactions. And what we've done is we have built an iPhone application, an Android application, a web application that can go on a restaurant's website, an application that can go on their Facebook page, so that you can just click through these menus and you can order through that digital channel, and then you can pay through these channels as well. So as opposed to waiting in line when you get there, you just walk in, you say, hey, my name is Eric and I'm here to pick up my bag. And there's my bag, and I walk out. And that's the interaction that I have. It's really designed for this enormous customer base today, this growing desire for consumers to use technological means to do everything. Just the same way that you would rather text somebody than call them today in a lot of situations. You'd just rather pick up your phone and have maybe a 30-second interaction with your phone, and next thing you know, you just go and you have the food come to you, actually. You can order a pizza for delivery this way.
You said you have applications in Mac, Android. Do you have Windows-based applications too?
So we build applications that serve the web. Mm-hmm. So you could be searching from any computer via a web browser, and you can submit an order that way. Okay. These other mobile platforms, we build a native iOS app, so that's an Apple device, and we build a native Android app as well. We don't do Windows Mobile, we don't do BlackBerry, we don't do some of the other smaller platforms out there, simply because there's just not enough utilization today in the general population of those platforms.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought there would still be a Windows platform on a mobile.
Well, so you can order through ChowNow on a Windows mobile device. However, the way that we get around not building a native application for Windows Mobile is we build a web application, a mobile web application, so that you can actually open a browser, and then you can go to a restaurant's website on that browser. You can go ahead and click order online, and that will open up an experience that kind of simulates a native experience, but actually is just more of a web form.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're on all three of these. I was going to ask you, now, do you deal with like quick turnaround orders, or do you go, would it imply if you went to a fancy restaurant?
So what you really want to think of is how does our product target a certain customer, and so our client. It's maybe kind of important to define client being a restaurant versus customer being maybe a diner at a restaurant, right? Because we deal with both these groups. And so our clients are really the restaurants. And we build this online order application for people who are really interested in takeout, or they're interested in delivery. So it's going to be more of the fast casual segment. We are not going to have a very large customer base in the fine dining segment, because typically they don't do a lot of takeout business. and they really focus their business on the in-house experience, if you will.
Yeah, the whole ambiance of a beautiful evening out, right?
Right, exactly.
And they want to take their time if they're there 2-3 hours.
Exactly, and that's the experience that some customers want in that moment. But in another moment, they might want to order a pizza for delivery. The other segment that we don't really target at all is what's called QSR. It's quick service restaurants. So imagine your McDonald's or your Taco Bell's, and that's also a market that an online ordering component doesn't necessarily play into that market, or at least our product doesn't necessarily service that particular market. So there is that kind of center segment, which is actually the bulk of the market. And really, our product works very well for restaurants that are doing upwards of $5,000, $7,500 of takeout on a monthly basis.
How did you come up with this idea? How did you figure this out? I heard you speak. I want to say it before I forget, because you are from Monrovia. I think you're the first person I've ever had on the show that was born and raised in Monrovia.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so, and went to Monrovia High School.
Oh, I'm happy to be the first.
Yeah, I mean,
thanks for having me.
you kind of like the celebrity here.
Not at all.
So tell me, in your experience, if you graduated high school, and you did graduate Monrovia High, what did you major in when you went to UCLA?
I didn't know what to do at first, actually. So I was one of those people that bounced around from 2 or 3 or 4 different majors. Ultimately, I decided that I was going to go to law school. And some of the best preparation for law school was actually something that I had more of a natural tendency for, and that was English. I loved to read. My mom was an English teacher, and English was very important in our household growing up. So I went through and got an English degree, which was mostly based around British literature. And then I got what they called a specialization. It's kind of like a minor in business and administration. And with that was supposed to give me the core reading skills, the analytical skills that then would serve me pretty well in law school. But ultimately, I didn't go to law school.
Right, and you didn't know what you were going to major in when you went to law school, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly if I would have gotten law school, then I would have been there in the first year and tried to figure out what I was interested in, and then maybe spend my second year trying to focus on that. But I will say that now, having worked with 100 or 200 attorneys in my career, it was probably a blessing I didn't go to law school. I would not have been good at their jobs. These are people that are really, really special and gifted in terms of being able to analyze information and provide you with good opinions on how you should go about your business. And I don't think that I could have actually done their jobs.
I don't think so either. I don't think you would have been happy doing it.
Yeah, probably not.
So let's go when you did real estate. You were in real estate, and when the market went down in 2008, and you left real estate, right?
I did.
You by choice? We were forced to.
Well, that's certainly by choice. I mean, there was still work to be done, and at that time in the marketplace, there was just a different kind of work to be done in real estate than I had been doing before I was in acquisitions, and something of an asset management component as well. But after the market kind of turned south, there was more of an opportunity in workouts, and there was opportunities in different kinds of asset acquisition that it wasn't necessarily work that I had done before, but transitioning into that work I think could have been a possibility for me. As a matter of fact, I started doing a little bit of it as I was looking around to understand what the next thing I wanted to do was. But I actually kind of count that as a blessing. I really enjoyed my time in my real estate career, and I think that I learned a lot there. I think that there's a lot of the foundation of my skill set that I use today that I picked up during that time. But I wanted to be in technology. When I was I think it was 7 years old, my dad brought home a computer, and we used to play Infocom games on it. And then, I remember the first time we brought home an Apple IIgs, and how it was color and the ability to do do a lot on these devices, and I think my imagination was always captured by technology. So I actually went out and started another company that was actually focused in the real estate vertical. That was a technology company, and I didn't get too far into building that company before I tried to go out for funding, and it just was pretty obvious that there wasn't anybody that was funding anything in real estate in 2008, 2009. Nobody had an appetite for much real estate investment unless it was to buy a piece of property very low at the time, with the anticipation that at some point the market would come back. And so I couldn't really get any funding in a real estate-oriented technology. So you'd ask me how this company started to begin with. I had a very, very good friend of mine who I had known since I was in my very early 20s. And his family was actually an investor, one of our first investors in our real estate company. And it turns out that he actually managed some of my family's money while I was in real estate as well. So we always had this business relationship, but we were also very good friends. And we would, he lived in New York. He actually moved to New York and worked on Wall Street. And so, he'd come back to LA, and we would socialize, and then we would meet up in different places in the country, and we'd go to like a big music festival together, or we would travel.
Yeah, that was part of it.
Yeah, and so there was always this professional, but yet also a very personal connection there. When he decided to leave Wall Street, he came back to Los Angeles, and he was just brimming with ideas. And I had this operations background. I'd built a company in the past, this real estate company. And he started talking about this technology he was using on Wall Street. It was an online ordering technology that companies would use to order large batches of food for their employees. Mostly a device to keep people in the office and not get out of the office and to keep them working, I think. But he was thinking about, hey, how do we bring a technology like this to the West Coast, to LA where we live? And how do we do it in terms of a social, Facebook, if you will, methodology? Or how do you do it through a mobile methodology on people's phones? And so we started to look at that opportunity. While investing in real estate, his family also invested in a company by the name of Tender Greens, which is a fast casual restaurant concept in the Los Angeles area, and it's now grown to, I think, some Bay Area locations as well as some San Diego locations. And it's a fantastic farm-to-table concept, and it was doing quite well. And so my friend at that time was looking for technologies that would then connect that restaurant group to their customers. Something like this online ordering technology. And there was just a dearth of this kind of product in the marketplace that was affordable, and it also would help to maintain that brand. And so we decided that we would do some research in the marketplace, see if there was actually demand for such a product. I remember we put on some coats, some blazers, and we went up to Isla Vista, and we'd had our friend who owned an advertising company build us this brochure of this product that we said was real, but of course it wasn't real. And we went around to, I think in a couple days, 60, 70 different establishments, and we walked in and we cold called these people, and we said, hey, would you want to use this technology in your stores? And we were really surprised at how intrigued people were by it, and how people actually just wanted to sign up there on the spot. And so we figured, okay, well, there's demand here.
Did you take the check?
We did not take any checks. We said, no, I'll tell you what, here's our business card. Let me take one of yours, and we'll get back with you. And that's what we did. And so now, having measured in our minds, demand for this product.
So what was the actual demand out of 60, 70 companies you went to?
I don't remember the actual numbers, but I'll give you kind of some ideas. This is 4 years ago, so my recollection was that, we had maybe about a 20-25% rejection factor.
Well, that's not that bad.
No, not bad at all. Actually, it's fantastic. And I think there was about 50 or 60% that had some genuine interest in it. Maybe some others that had some kind of moderate interest in it. But just half of all the people that we pulled having some genuine interest in it meant that I thought we were onto something. There was probably, of that 60 or 70, probably a good 3 or 4 locations that wanted to just sign right away and get going with it. We were in a college town, and so the demographic that they were trying to serve was certainly interested in technology, interested in these kind of products, and so I think
that would be a perfect market.
It seems to be, so I think that was a really good match for us in trying to understand, who would buy this product. And so I think we had this.
You weren't really sure. I mean, when you started this, when you went up and you got all your marketing materials and everything, you weren't really sure of who the market was. You were kind of.
No, I mean, I think that we had this idea that people who offered takeout would want to do it online. Fast forward to today, I know that we have a very different idea of who our perfect customer is, and it's actually an evolving science for us. But yeah, back then I think we just assumed that
you blundered.
Well, I think that
we all do when we first start off. I think we have this idea, what we think the idea is, and then there's the reality of the idea.
Sure, yeah.
So
I would say we did that. We went and we cast a very wide net, and we tried to sign up as many people as we possibly could in the very early stages of our business, and we did. We succeeded, and it was a great success because a lot of them failed, and it was through that failure that you really start to understand who's right for the product and who's wrong for the product. And
what do you mean that some of them failed? How did they fail? With the business or with the working with you?
Working with us. So we would deploy our product into a store, and then we measure success by whether or not that product is utilized and if they make money on it. And we're really in the business of making money for these restaurants. We make a lot of restaurants a lot of money with this product that we sell. But if you don't make very much money, then you're not going to use the service, and ultimately you're going to cancel the service. And this happens to every company.
Right. Oh yeah.
So we have a $99 subscription, and so that on a monthly basis. And this $99 that people pay, they reasonably expect some kind of return on that $99, some kind of value. And it doesn't necessarily have to be always money. It's got to be, maybe their customers are more engaged because they're using this particular technology, and so it's building their brand. And that's really important to some people. But some people, they really just want to make a lot of money on $99. And we have restaurants we have restaurant groups that make nearly $150,000, $200,000 a month on a $99 subscription. That's how powerful this product is.
Wow.
But
you've never raised the rates either.
That's actually not true. We actually used to have a different way of pricing it. We used to price it kind of in tiers, depending on how many locations there were. And our top tier was $89 pricing. So we've gone up $10. We're $99 priced at this point.
That seems very reasonable
It's very reasonable. There's no doubt, but it's also very competitive. There are other players in the space that undercut us quite a bit. I think that ChowNow is really viewed as the best in class in terms of customer experience. And when I say customer, I mean patron experience, diner experience. We build these really cool apps that are just fun and simple. The people use.
Very important.
Simple's very important.
Because if you get moved around a lot into a lot of looping around into different areas, you know what I mean? You have to keep.
Oh, certainly, yeah. So
people don't like that.
Our number one goal is to make sure that the person who's ordering has an excellent experience, and that it's going to be an experience where it's very few buttons that they have to push in order to get what they want out of life, which is a pizza right now, or some soup right now, or some barbecue chicken right now, whatever it is. And so we build these things so that they're very shareable, so other people can know about them. We leverage the diners' social networks because people want to share these great experiences they have in technology. We know that, and so we know that if I am working, I work on behalf of the restaurant. If I'm working on behalf of the restaurant and I can have one of their diners go out and be this advocate for this tool that they have, they're an advocate for their brand, that means they have a new customer. So that's a customer acquisition tool for them. So we build this so that they will go out, share it, use it a lot, and in that sharing and in that multiple use situation, they will end up ordering enough food so that it will bring in enough tickets for the restaurant to be very happy with our service, make money on our service, and ultimately they will become advocates for us because we're a business too. And we actually get a lot of referral business these days because of how well people are doing on the service.
And they share that on Facebook and Twitter and all over.
So we build it so it's shareable on Facebook today. You know, they can elect to go out and tweet about it if they like to, and there's a lot of people that do tweet about our service. But you know, the social aspect is mostly built into Facebook. The other social aspect, though, that we build this group ordering feature so that you can start an order at your favorite restaurant and then you can invite your friends to the order, which basically means that you will be starting an order that other people can then get onto as well. And maybe that person would have ordered at that store that day. So just by virtue of them being in your social circle and you inviting them to come in and order, that restaurant may have gained a new client that day, but at least they've probably gained an extra ticket. And probably not just one, because we use group ordering in office all the time, and I know how it works. People will start an order, and the next thing you know, there's 12, 15 people that have jumped on top of it. And so that started, you know, our average ticket that we do right now is $29, I believe. The average individual ticket going to be somewhere around, you know, $11 or $12. And so that started as an $11 or $12 order, and then it jumped up to become a $120 order because the patron who was loyal to the brand invited their friends to jump on it as well.
When you started this, when you started marketing this, you started with the restaurants, right? I mean, you had the restaurants first, and then the patrons liked it.
So when you think about what we do...
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking people, they're going to go to their favorite pizza place, and I can order this online, and I like it. And I think, oh, this is I like the way it's done, and it's hassle-free.
Yeah.
And then I'll naturally you'll refer it to your friends if it's something you really like or get in. How long did it take you to get to this point when you first started? Because did you know what? No, you probably didn't know what you were doing then. You knew. I mean, I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, no. I think
you're kind of, well, you don't know. You're starting things. You're clueless.
Yeah, you know, the original product idea is not what the product is today.
Oh,
it's not very far off, but it's not really what the product is today. And I think that as we deploy the software, people start interacting with the software, and we start to see where, through their utilization, when you throw it out into the wild, and then all of a sudden people start using it, you start to see where there's opportunity. Right. And so then you start to zone in on those opportunities, and you start to listen to your clients and their need sets, and you see where there's a large group that align in a certain place, and that's an opportunity. And so you really start to focus on the product and how it can then cater to the larger opportunity that's out there. And I think that is the way that ChowNow has evolved in a few iterations. I think that there are some ideas, a lot of really great ideas that we have today that we're going to be producing in the near term and also in the long term that are informed by our past experience, but also I think that there's a lot of ideas that are informed by our creativity, because we're also thinking what is possible. What can we do that people aren't even thinking about there? How can we actually change the system by completely shifting the paradigm? And I think that you'll see coming out of our R&D division, there are going to be some really neat paradigm shifting products that are not too far off.
Well, let's go back to your beginnings, and then we can continue with this. When you decided, I don't know how to say this, you have a customer, and you're starting to get input from the customer. Do they email you or text you that they really like the service, or did they put it on Facebook? And how did that evolve into other products? I guess that's what I'm saying. Just give me something very simple of an experience that moved you in a different step. Am I asking it correctly?
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Okay, good. I'm not sure what in my head I know what I'm putting down, but I'm thinking, so you tell me.
So maybe one example would be we did not anticipate that people still wanted to use fax machines. So the restaurant world is really still run on an infrastructure of fax machines. At least the SMB crowd is.
SMB?
Small to medium-sized businesses.
Okay, okay.
So not the chains necessarily, but
Okay.
I would actually expect that there's probably some decent-sized chains that are very paper-oriented these days as well. So it's still a very paper-oriented industry, and so they sometimes will need a piece of paper to travel from one place to another. That's actually very common in a restaurant. And so we had to figure out how to give that to them. And so what we had to do was we provide every one of our restaurants with a tablet. It's an iPad, and that sits there in their next to their POS, next to their telephone, whatever their operational station is. And the order then flows up to the iPad, and somebody can just tap on it and say, okay, yes, I can serve up this order. It'll be ready for you in 15 minutes, 30 minutes. There's a bunch of presets that are there. And they accept it in this way. So it's just a couple of taps on an iPad, and they can accept an entire order as opposed to sitting there on the phone and taking everything down by hand. And then they would take this, and then they would need that information to travel from one place to another, because they may not necessarily have the kitchen instrumentation that is connected to the POS.
That's point of sale, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so we then went out and found a printer. And we never would have thought that we would have gone what we would consider to be backwards, from going from a digital technology to one that required paper. But the demand is so great for these printers that we had to do it. And so now today we do it. And that really has greased the operational flow for a lot of our restaurant partners. And it's kind of nice. There's actually a little bit of profit in there for ChowNow as well, because we lease the printers and we have a little bit of margin there, but then we also supply the paper and we have a little bit of margin there. So it's good for our business too.
Is this a special printer? I mean, when you started going out and looking, I bet there weren't many printers like this on the market, right?
Yeah, I mean it's there's not very many printers that
you're talking about the little ones, like
small, like a thermal printer.
Right.
We're trying to make everything small, right? Because a restaurant is a complicated and crowded place anyway, and so we need to build our tools in the restaurant. Their tools through our technology in the restaurant in such a way that it fits in with their current programming, and it's almost 100% that they're going to have a telephone in there, and it's almost 90% they're going to have a POS in there, and they may have some other instrumentation in there as well. And so it's already a space where there are things. And we need to be within that ecosystem of things, but we don't need to crowd the ecosystem of things more than we need to. Exactly. And so these are small thermal printers that then they print. I think it's a 2.5-inch chit that comes out, and then that chit will then travel from the register to the kitchen, maybe ultimately to the bag.
So half paper will travel.
Half paper will travel. So here's what we learned is that we didn't want to disrupt their operational flow. We wanted to improve it, but we weren't going to improve it by actually trying to change them.
No, you can't.
All we ended up doing, and I think this is the superior method, and ultimately this works the best for restaurants because they're all so different. They have their own individual flows. Is we ended up substituting for the front end. So we substitute for a telephone, and a lot of times we substitute for a fax machine. We provide this digital interface so that something pops up on the iPad, as opposed to taking that call. You just take it from the iPad, and then you put it into your POS, or you do whatever you do with it. Maybe call back to the kitchen. Maybe you write it down on a chit yourself. If you don't take our printer, that's fine. But whatever you do at the point of receiving the order is up to you and your workflow.
So when you go in and talk to all these restaurants, I mean, I'm sure you talk to an awful lot of restaurants, and you're right, you're not going to, they have their workflow and they know exactly how their restaurant works, so you have to be a partner in that relationship, not an antagonist, and saying, I've had people say, this is how it works, and I think, well, that's not how I work.
Yeah, sure.
And you're not going to go against your normal intuition, or your procedures. You have those procedures, you have them for a reason, and some things can be improved, but then some things, like, you're talking about a restaurant, they know how that works.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask you is, do you have to customize a lot of your stuff in a way?
Well, so...
or does the iPad, the way the orders come in through the iPad, does that help?
There is customization within our technology to the point that we can bring customization. We're a company, though, that is very fast growing. One of the reasons we're fast growing is because we've also built in this idea of scaling. We want to be able to service as many restaurants as possible in this method. However, we have built in, despite that, our ability to scale, we have built into these quasi-templates the ability to make it seem as if it's not a template, so that you have your color schemes in there, your branded color schemes, restaurants' branded color schemes. You have a restaurant's branded imagery. Certainly you have their menu, and it's all their language. They provide us with all of the information around their culture and their voice, and we integrate all that into this experience, this ordering experience, whether it be on web or mobile or Facebook. And so it is seemingly customized, but for our technology in the back end, in order for our engineers to do it very rapidly, we have had to build sophisticated templates in order to accommodate that customization.
Okay, so it's kind of, I don't know. Are you familiar with Constant Contact?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Constant Contact. I mean, where I can do everything. I can have our KGEM logo and everything. But I do it. But it's still,
Sure.
I can customize
So you can upload that image,
right,
so
exactly.
that so your user experience is a KGEM experience and not a
Right.
Constant Contact experience.
Exactly.
That's actually what ChowNow is about.
Okay,
We
so
are-
I have to relate it because I'm not in the restaurant business,
Sure.
and the audience, a lot of the audience probably isn't in the restaurant business, so we can relate it to maybe normal things that we do.
Sure.
Or like a database that we're going to customize, and we want our images and all that. Okay, I
So
got it.
so think of it this way. ChowNow, we're a software developer. We're a back-end software developer. We are always pushing the restaurant's brand to the front, so that their patrons may not even know who ChowNow is. Likely don't even know who ChowNow is. Don't even care. They never interact with them, never see them. Their patrons are interacting with their restaurant, but they're just interacting with them on the digital level.
Tell me how you came up with the name ChowNow. Because I guess I do want to call it Chow Menu.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but tell me.
So there's a science behind these names, and there's a science behind it being one syllable. There's a science behind it being 7 characters or less. And so we started to analyze what the best URLs really would be for this a web address would be for this company. And you need it to be a lot of things. You need to be catchy. You need it to be on brand. You need it to be understood, fairly easily understood that it's about a certain thing. So chow, obviously about food. But you also need to be very searchable. and you needed to actually have some attributes that make it rise in the rankings of the digital world. And we looked at a lot of combinations of different words, and we tried to find, our favorite .coms, and of course they were all taken.
Right.
Maybe there was a couple that we had come up with that we thought were not very good, or at least average at best, and maybe they were available. And so, I think we bought a couple of those and thinking, okay, we'll put those kind of in our back pockets, and if we had to go with them, we would. And then my co-founder Chris was looking one day at an auction site, and this auction site had this name that was available, and it was really good. It was ChowNow. It was really good. We thought, oh, this could be the perfect name for what we want to do, but it's on auction, which means that someone had owned it previously, that established it. There was even an established website that was there, which was actually kind of good because that meant that it had better ranking potential than just building something from scratch, brand new. It had been around for a couple of years, but they had decided not to renew it.
What was ChowNow before you bought it?
I don't know, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not aware, because I'm not sure that that page actually existed by the time that the person had given up and had not renewed it. And so we got excited about it, but then we realized, well, that's not going to be $9.99 at GoDaddy. We have to bid on this thing. How much is this going to cost?
Okay. Oh, yeah, and some of it can be really expensive.
Well, I think the week prior to that, we had gotten the information that flying.com had just traded in a similar circumstance, flying.com, and supposedly it had gone for somewhere near $1 million.
Wow.
And this is the time when we were still bootstrapping our company. It was just our capital, and that was it. So we kind of put a limit on how much would we pay for this, what was it valued at for us, and we actually even got a backer to come in case we needed some backstopping, in case we really wanted to get it and we needed to go more than otherwise we would, and then we made a certain deal with that person as well. If in fact things wouldn't come together, then they would have the rights to sell it off and license it or whatever. And so ultimately we get into this bidding process, and we ended up winning the bid, obviously, for a dollar amount that was actually negligible when you look back on it. But we were fearful that it was going to be very, very expensive.
Really?
Yeah, but it was so the reason we ended up with ChowNow is because it was available, and that we could afford it. There's probably some other word combinations out there that were just as good, but we just couldn't get them for whatever reason. They were maybe already taken, or there was another business that was already called that we couldn't get.
When you got that, did you get the net too, the ChowNow net, or did you just get the .com, ChowNow.com?
We own a lot of ChowNows, so there's a lot of there's .nets, .coms. To kind of,
Yeah, because you didn't want to be. Well, there's org, but I even if you got. I don't know if that would apply.
We own a lot of IP and trademarking around ChowNow,
Okay.
but then in order to really substantiate that, to kind of give you an idea, you have to buy a lot of URLs. So it's not just like ChowNow. We also have to buy my ChowNow. We have to buy ChowNowSucks.com and
or ChowNow-
food.com.
you have that.
Yeah, we own several of them because we're very serious about our brand. We covet it, and we think it's very important to us. I think it's important to the business, and so we want to protect it in as many ways as possible. So you don't want people buying all these other URLs and then posting things on there and then trying to mimic your brand and being off-brand. It's just tough for your business.
Yeah, I know. You were smart. You guys were smart too. I know you were flying by the seat of your pants on the marketing side, but it sounds like on the legal side, you understood what you had to do.
Well, I think we went out and got advice.
Yeah, but a lot of businesses don't go out and get advice, and even with the ChowNow name, good lawyers would say pick up all those URLs and blah, blah, blah. And,
Sure.
and you just don't pick up those 3, go My ChowNow, and even if you're never going to use them, and they have no meaning, but you still have to renew them. And
Sure, and I think, when you're trying to focus on a certain level of business, this stuff is almost like a standard operating procedure at this point. But we've always been very lucky in that we have had people surrounding us who are interested in seeing us succeed, and people who had knowledge or experience in these places before, and they give us really good advice, really, really good advice. I'm thankful to a lot of people that we are where we are today because of their influence upon us.
when you went after the funding, how did that go? When you had to go look at money.
Yeah.
Because you started this, 2012?
The original round of financing came in 2011, very late 2000. Well, actually, or early 2011. Pardon me. And it was a slog. There's no doubt about it. And I think any entrepreneur would tell you the same thing. It was particularly difficult for Chris and for me because we were trying to build a company in food tech, and neither of us had a deep history in food nor in tech. I think that we had a great idea, and when we took that idea in a deck and we paraded it around and we said, what do you think of this? I think that it was very common for us to say, or to hear that it seemed like a good idea. We seemed like smart guys, but since we didn't have any experience in food or technology, and then we didn't have any other person that was actually in our company, in our organization at that time, our organization of 2, that we would have a very low chance of succeeding. And I understand that. And so that just actually made us work harder, of course. And so, when we went out for financing, we did the whole friends and family round, and
I think that's sometimes harder.
It is. There's no doubt about it. It is.
I mean, some people say it's easier. I don't think so.
Well, I think the first, we call it's a seed round. The first component of our seed round, the first $300,000 we ever brought into our company, took 7, 8, 9 months in order to get that money in, and it didn't come from traditional technology investors. It came from people who either we had made money for before, because we both had investment careers before, or it came from people who had an interest in businesses like this, an interest in being part of building a business like this, but couldn't leave their occupation to do so. They couldn't leave their banking job, or they couldn't leave their attorney job, or they couldn't leave the things that was providing for the family at that time, but they wanted to be part of this. So then you got a $10,000 check here and a $15,000 check there, and so that's how we raised the original seed, at least the first component of the seed. But then once we started to kind of get into an area where we had a product that we could show people, and we even had an alpha test.
How long did it take you to develop the product from the time you were going around with your...
It was a good 6 months or so between the time that we originally raised capital until the time we actually had something of a prototype to show people that you could click some things and other things would happen, actually like a working model. And then it was maybe even a couple more months after that until it was actually functional and deployed in a restaurant environment where you could actually see an order come through. But so once we had that, the money started to become more interested. I also think that a major inflection point for us was we were part of an accelerator program in Los Angeles called Launchpad LA. There's a number of accelerator programs in Los Angeles that are very good. I think Los Angeles is a very interesting place and a really exciting place to be right now for entrepreneurs, especially in the tech scene, because there's so much support and so much interest in building these technologies in Los Angeles. And so at Launchpad, it was the first time that we were really introduced to the technology community, that we were maybe even somebody in the technology community, viewed as somebody because we were there. It was the first time that venture capital was really taking a closer look at the opportunity that we had. And so that is where we really brought in our first sizable investors. They're investors that really, their business is investing in these kind of seed level or Series A level technology companies. And so we had an investor of that nature come into ChowNow, and they've been a very large supporter of ChowNow ever since. As a matter of fact, they've participated in every round of financing that we've had, and they have plans to continue to participate in financing for the company, sit on our board, and give us really good advice about what this product is that we've built, how it's engaging with the market, how it can be better, how to really try to create more value for our restaurant clients and for the patrons that eat there.
Do you remember your first client? Or do
I do, yeah, I do.
Yeah, you never forget your first one.
No, certainly not. So I live in Manhattan Beach, and around the corner from me there was a little sandwich shop called Sandoz, which was a neighborhood favorite. And so I went in and spoke with the owner, Ryan, and let him know that, hey, we were building this technology, we had some great ideas around it. Would he allow me to put it in his restaurant, and then would he allow me to put it on his Facebook page, this ability to order online? And he was really kind, and he said that he's a surfer. I really dig what you guys are doing, and I think this is perfect for my customers. Yeah, man, let's do this. And so we put it in there, and I remember putting the first order through, and then we just let it happen, and people started ordering, and he started getting some orders. It wasn't a lot of orders, but some orders. And so therefore that allowed us to actually see what engagement looked like and see where it was breaking, and we'd fix it and it would break, we'd fix it and break, and fix it and break. And so yeah, that actually was around September, October of 2011 when that happened. And then I think by maybe 3 or 4 months later, January of 2012, there were probably 10, 15 of those kind of clients, and so we were getting a lot more engagement coming through the platform at that point. And we were breaking it faster and fixing it faster and breaking it faster and fixing it faster. And then in May of 2012, so just a few months after that, we really kind of had our coming out. We went to the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago. It's a very large trade show, biggest conference, and my understanding is the biggest conference in the Western Hemisphere for restaurants. And we scraped together all the cash we had. We got ourselves a booth, and we rented tables, and we dressed up. And
you were in a suit?
And yeah, I think we went in suits.
Wow.
Which we don't do anymore. But that was kind of the presentation that we wanted at the time. And then we were there for 4 days, and we were just showing people what it was we had, and we asked if this would create value for them, and if so, would they sign on the dotted line? And we walked away with from that show with 30 clients.
Wow.
So that was
They were small to medium clients, right?
Yeah. All little one-off mom and pops to we actually signed our first chain at that show. There's a chain of restaurants in the Northeast and Midwest called Ground Round. And it's actually an very old brand. It used to be located in like all the Howard Johnsons, and they had a couple hundred units at one time, and I think they've consolidated down now to 50, 60 units or so, and they're still clients of ours.
Wow.
They still use our technology.
How many people, like that first year, how many people were working for you that first year? You and Chris.
Sure, yeah. I think that there was probably somewhere around 10 or 11 is kind of what was required to do the job, and that was including 3 or 4 salespeople actually pushing the product out there. We needed to get engagement, so we needed salespeople to come and sell it, and some of those early salespeople are still with us, to tell you the truth.
Do you have sales? You don't have salespeople now, do you? Do you still have salespeople?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh,
yeah, we have a
okay.
lot of salespeople. The restaurant world's a very high-touch world, And it's important that we have a connection with them on the human level. It's not like this is a technology that people would actually just, well, restaurant culture, restaurant folks aren't folks that are apt to use a technology that doesn't have a person behind it. And so I think it's always going to be important for us to have people to represent the values of ChowNow and people to represent the product in a way that we feel it's best represented. And also people to listen to restaurateurs, to hear what their needs are, and then to provide us with that feedback so that we can build it into the product or we can address their needs. It's really important, at least in the world that we work in, that people are part of the sales process.
So you've gone from what, starting with 2, you're up to what, 60-some people now?
I think we're actually almost at 40 at this
Okay.
time.
That's
However,
a lot.
it won't be very long until that number is probably going to be maybe double. There's a lot of growth in our business right now. There's a lot of demand for the product. People are making a lot of money with it, and so there's going to be a need for us to scale up in our sales divisions, our engineering divisions, our service divisions, and that need is already here. It's quite clear to us, and so we're growing rapidly.
And where do you see yourself 3 years down the road? Or is that hard to imagine at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see what happened in the last 3 months, to tell you the truth.
What happened in the last 3 months? You can multiply that by 36.
Where would we be in 3 months? Who knows? 3 years from now, I think that you'll see this company in a much different place. I think that this company has already been able to gain the attention and the respect of some very large companies that have some very large ambitions. We already have some very good partnerships in place, and we are developing new partnerships all the time with very smart and forward-thinking corporations that want to have this kind of a technology as a component of their own offering, at least through partnership. And so I think that you'll see us come out with some really neat products. Like I said, there's some really cool stuff in R&D right now. But I also think that you will see there be a lot more interaction between other restaurant products that you use and the ChowNow product. I also think that certainly from a scale perspective, we will be probably a fairly large brand that, again, we aren't necessarily a household name by any means. We're a back-end developer, but we should be an industry name. Within the restaurant industry, everyone will know who this brand is, and within 3 years, I think that they probably will have touched the product in one way or another.
And using it, you're probably looking at the product, using it differently within the restaurant business too, and you never know. I mean,
yeah, certainly. I think that this product will continue to evolve and get better all the time. That's part of our monthly subscription. It's not like you get what you buy today and it just stops.
Right.
That's the kind of neat thing about subscriptions. We're constantly improving it, so the restaurant client is constantly getting the benefit of it improving all the time as well. We're actually about to launch a brand new interface that just blows away anything that we've done in the past, which is already, like I said, best in class. So it really is going to be, I think, set the next standard for what this experience should be like for users. I think that ultimately,
it's to me. I'm going to get back to constant contact because I think, as a user. But they're always doing upgrades and this and that, but they're always making their product better for the consumer. I mean, for the small business person who has to do their newsletters or whatever we're doing.
Well, we have to, because we know that there's someone that's just like us right behind us, right? I think in the way that we are disrupting a lot of current technologies, in a way that we are now being used as a new product in place of a product that was maybe there before. Maybe it wasn't just like us, but maybe it was something that was different.
Right.
there's somebody that's right behind us that's going to try to disrupt us. And just knowing that really keeps you on your toes, and you know that you just have to stay at the forefront of development, stay at the forefront of product, and constantly be bringing more and more value to your restaurant clients. And that's how we feel about our product. So 3 years from now, I'm still going to be breathless, running, pushing, and making sure that we are maintaining our position in the front of the pack.
What position do you see yourself in 3 years from now?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally within the company.
Within the company. I'm a founder, and so therefore I like to have my fingers in all the pies. I work mostly, the majority of my time I work as an operations role, actually, and work in sales to a certain extent as well, and finance. And I think that there are some kind of daily tasks that I would let go of, but I really love to tinker with the entire system, the entire machine, always looking for process efficiency and always looking for ways to make a better experience for our restaurant clients, a faster experience, a more meaningful experience, whatever that means. And so I think that I will probably work myself into a role of almost exclusively just trying to make ChowNow a better place for our clients, but also, I gotta be honest with you, I think everybody at ChowNow really loves working there because we have a certain culture that's there. If you get some feedback from some of our employees at some point, I think we get pretty high marks in terms of how we run the business and how loyal they are to the business and how they feel, the passion they feel about the product that they are providing to the restaurant world. And I think that there's also that component that I always want to make better for everyone as well. Our employees are really, really important to us because they take care of our clients. And so I think we always want to be developing better things for them as well, for their own professional and personal experiences.
Well, this has been great. I've learned a lot. I really learned a lot about what you do. I always like learning. That's one of my big things. Would you say, look at the camera, say your name, and whatever you want as information, how to reach you.
Gotcha, sure.
Okay. Since we don't use phones very much.
Well, that's good. Enjoy it. My name is Eric Jaffe. I'm a founder at ChowNow. You can find us at chownow.com. You can also call us because everyone loves to use the phone in the restaurant world, and that's 888-707-2469, which is 888-707-2469. You can call me directly if you like at 310-710-6677. I'd be happy to chat with you.